Well, let's get some analysis now from Matthew Bryza. He's a non-resident senior fellow with the Atlantic Council's Global Energy Centre. He joins us now from Istanbul. Welcome back to the program, Matthew. Russia, as we know, has accused Ukraine and the US of working on a biological weapons program, which Joe Biden says is a false flag. What do you make of his warning that Russia's considering the use of chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine? Is there any truth to that?
Well, I don't know if there's truth. I assume there is because Russia has used chemical weapons against its own citizens. The Skripal case, of course, in London, and then the attempt to assassinate Navalny, the opposition leader. I am deeply worried that President Biden is correct. Russia has a history of claiming these false flag attacks. It claimed, for example, that in Syria, it was the opponents of the Assad regime that used chlorine gas on themselves to garner public support and sympathy. And in this case, the claims of Russia that the Ukraine and the United States had been developing biological weapons and chemical weapons, I know is false from my own experience in the U.S. government. The U.S. government, since the end of the Cold War, had a program called the Cooperative Threat Reduction Program, in which Russia was an important participant, as was Ukraine. And the idea was to make sure that the chemical and biological weapons that were in arsenals of the Soviet Union didn't get released to terrorists or other nefarious people once the Soviet Union collapsed. So President Putin is trying to conflate that cooperative program falsely with a biological or chemical weapons program in Ukraine or in the United States.
Now, the unleashing of chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine would be an alarming escalation of the conflict. What impact would that have on the fighting in Ukraine and on the situation as a whole? Do you think if those weapons were unleashed, would it force the hand of the US and NATO to get involved?
That's the huge question. And President Biden, as in your package you were just reporting, President Biden has left whatever that specific harsh U.S. response would be vague and ambiguous because he doesn't want to box the U.S. and NATO in. But there would have to be a severe reaction. As we all remember, when Assad used chemical weapons in Syria and violated then President Obama's red line, the U.S. really did nothing, same as the U.K., whose parliament voted not to respond militarily. So in this case, my guess is President Biden would work very hard to maintain the unity of the transatlantic community and would push for something like the total cutoff of Russian energy imports into the European Union, as well as the United States, something that would really crush the Russian economy. The problem is, though, the impact of those sorts of even tougher sanctions takes time. And the poor people who would be the victims of these chemical weapons attacks would suffer horribly. What the impact of a chemical weapons attack would be on the battlefield remains to be seen. They're absolutely devastating weapons, but there's only so much of them that can be used before the world will know without a shadow of any doubt that President Putin is using them. So I think President Putin is threatening, suggesting the use of chemical weapons as a terror tactic rather than as a useful battlefield weapon.
Okay, Matthew Bryza, we'll have to leave it there, but thanks as always for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.